Okay, it's recording. Now, I've received like 3 examples of issues that people found when like reviewing the code. So I'll try to go over all of them. I haven't prepared anything here, so yeah, sorry if I start lagging or something, but yeah, we're gonna learn together. And if in any case you have any questions, feel free to just ask them straight ahead because I won't be able to unmute you or anything. You can all unmute yourself if you have any questions. So yeah, just go ahead. So okay, so the first example we have here, and I'm just gonna try to go to the process which I would do when reviewing this code. I haven't reviewed any codes like in about 7 months. Well, regarding the theyalow, of course, because I only reviewed the theyalow in the previous run and I didn't have a chance to do it now, so I might lag a bit. But yeah, I'll try to go over uh, in a way that I would if I were reviewing this. So on my other screen, I have opened up the theyalow, the task description, and feel free to open up yourself so you can follow along. I'll give you a few moments to do that. Of course, I also opened up the PSDs, Photo P, both the desktop and mobile version, and I'm just going to go point by point. So the prerequisites, basically, you can't really test anything here because you can't access the repository. This is more of a self-evaluation. Then the assessment criteria, yeah, you must either use Flex or Grid, and that's about it. Fonts and images should be hosted locally, but yeah, there's no penalty if you actually use external fonts. And then we move on to global penalties. So the first one is failure to submit on time. This one is good because it's submitted. No hosted version, yeah, it's also a failure. Okay, so not using Flex or Grid. So how do we test it? It's pretty simple. We just open up the elements. We can just basically go to any container, and if we see this little, oh, by the way, I think I'll just zoom it up a bit. Is the console visible or should I zoom in more?
It is.
Okay, cool. Let me get back. Okay, so if we see this little flex icon here, it instantly means that this is a flex box. The same goes for grid. It just says grid there. And as we can see, display flex. So at least one flex is used. So this point is good. Now, not following semantic standards, I think I will leave this for the end because it will require us to go through all of the code. The solution is not responsive. Okay, so this is more interesting. Now to test this, I usually just open up the responsive view, which is the button right here, the blue one. This is pretty useful because it lets you basically easily resize the screen whatever you want. You can set the zoom, you can make it really big, like 4,000 width. But the way I do it is, first of all, the layout breaks only on large screens. So I just put it on, let's say, 141. This is considered a large screen now, according to the evaluation criteria. And I just quickly scroll down and see if there's anything out of place. And in this example, it doesn't seem like it. So this point is good. Or on very small screens. So we need to check whether it breaks on 400. In this example, the responsive layout is not working correctly. Yeah, that's sometimes the case. Then you need to actually turn it off and resize the window itself. Oh, by the way, can you see the window when I resized it? Or do you see my desktop or something?
Yes, we see.
So you see the desktop or you see the
mobile.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Okay, so let me resize it. Oh, I can't really do that. It's only 500. Okay. Let's see if we can fix this then. Open up the styles, find the breakpoints. There we go, media only screen. I think we can do something like device width. Should work. Doesn't seem like it. Some issues. We're not safe the file system. Huh? Or does this actually work? Let me see. What if I like do this? No, this doesn't seem to be working for some reason. I was pretty sure that you can do that, but let me think for a second. Because the problem, as you can see, is that I have entered the mobile breakpoint and nothing's really changing. It's because I think it's because the media is set to screen only. That means it ignores this responsive view. I'm not entirely sure why, but that's just my like guess. So I'm trying to change it now, but for some reason it's not changing. And now it's not going to work. Can I refresh it then? It's weird. I was sure this was supposed to work. Oh, something worked. Yeah, it seems like now it's working. This looks like the mobile design. Yeah, so now we can test the mobile design. Let's go to the lowest value and see if anything breaks. Nothing seems to be broken. Go to 400. Everything's pretty static. It's not really responsive, but yeah, at least it's not breaking. So, all right, let's just undo these changes so that it's a fair evaluation. All right, so the next point doesn't take up the whole screen width, empty space is visible. Well, we tested the smallest resolution, the higher resolution, and it doesn't seem like there's any white space. I could set it to 4K, and I don't see any white spaces, so it's good on that part. Now, a lot of code is rewritten to be used by desktop and mobile only. This is a pretty tricky one. It's actually really subjective, but let's try and find out. Oh yeah, and by the way, the last point, no mobile or desktop version present, and this one is not eligible, so we'll skip that one as well. So now we need to check two things. First of all, not following semantic standards, and second of all, a lot of code is rewritten to be used by desktop and mobile only, because both of these will require us to navigate through the whole code. So let's start with the HTML. Let's go to the header. Well, this is a header tag, but to be honest, I wouldn't agree that this whole block should be a header. Only this part should be the header, and currently it's div. I mean, I understand why the person chose to use a header here because of the background effect, but there was a different way how to solve this problem. So I would actually mark this as incorrect, like -1 point, because this is not following semantic standards. Well, because there's a video player in the header and there's some hero text in the header, which is not really correct. This should be main or section at least, like a separate section. Okay, so this is -1. Let me mark that. I'll open up some notepad. -1 semantic. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so this person I think is using Bootstrap. I think it is Bootstrap. That's no problem. It's Flexbox. Well, these are all divs. I guess it's all right. This should have been main, or at least a section. But since we already penalized for that, so I think we shouldn't do it again. So yeah, we can skip this one. Using a video tag. Okay. H1, H2. I wouldn't say that this should be H1, to be honest. This should be H2, like the whole text. I think I know why the person decided to use H1 and H2 because of the size differences, but it seems like he used H1 and H2 for different sizing, but he still used the same classes for both H1 and H2. And I would penalize it for here because they both should be H2, in my opinion. Well, either they're both H1 or they're both H2, because now the cool is the main text and the minimal is the secondary text, which is not really semantically correct, I would say. Well, I think I could forgive if both of them were H1. I mean, it's not that much of a big deal, but if like one is H1 and the second one is H2, then it's definitely a -1. So let me just mark that again. Oh, by the way, does anyone have any questions regarding this? Because maybe it was like not entirely clear what I mean. Just feel free to
Yes,
ask ahead.
I have a question. Do you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
It's about what you showed before, that it didn't work. It didn't show Twitter bubbles, right? But then you did something.
Yeah.
Because maybe one of my students has the same issue. What did you do exactly? And if you fix it, then it's okay.
Well, yeah, basically it's no problem because this is a very specific thing. What I did is if the person is setting only screen, then this responsive window is not going to work because as you can see, it still uses the desktop version, like nothing changed. So if you change this to all, media all, then it should be okay. You just need to click save and it should work. It didn't work for me for some reason, but then I refreshed it and tried it again and it started working. So it was pretty weird. But yeah, you just set it to media all and then recheck it. If the responsive view is not changing, first of all, try to use media all, especially if there's a breakpoint set. Yeah, that means that something's wrong.
Okay. I have to recheck my student then.
All right, cool. Sure. So let's continue. And one thing I
have one question, if possible. Sure. When you tested if layout breaks on large screens or small screens, you tested by setting the width to 1401 pixel. And
yeah, because that's the requirements.
And if my design breaks at let's say 3000 pixel, it's okay. I shouldn't get penalized for this.
Well, actually, I just reread it, and layout breaks only on large screens, which are above 1400. So actually, yeah, if your screen breaks on like, I don't know, 3000, then it's still a problem because that means that your design is just not responsive. Because it shouldn't matter if your design is responsive, it shouldn't matter what width you're using. You shouldn't have any white spaces.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Can I interrupt? I think there is a misunderstanding because I think the person who asked talked about breaking like a breakpoint. Am I right?
Well, I'm not sure because I don't know the situation, to be honest.
No, I asked. I asked when Gerimantas tested if layout breaks on large screens. I wanted to ask what is the, if my screen breaks at 3000 pixel, is it bad or is it good? Should I get penalized? Because he tested only on 1401 pixels. So yeah, so I just wanted to know what is the limit, or there is no limit.
Yeah, actually that was my mistake because there is no limit. You can test however large you want. It should be responsive. I mean, layout breaking shouldn't happen on very large screens anyway. Or are you talking about white spaces?
No, just
I got
the layout itself. It's it gets really bad on, let's say, 3,000 pixels at my
But
speed.
it's actually weird because if your solution is responsive, it should just keep expanding like this, like to infinity. It doesn't really matter.
Because I did some sections with viewport height, and when it gets very wide but not height as
Oh.
viewport, yeah, it gets very very bad.
Yeah, actually setting your width in regards to the viewport height is not really a good idea because first of all of the situation just described, and second of all it doesn't really make sense because the width should expand with the screen's width, not the height. I mean, it shouldn't matter how high the screen is. Your width should be dependent on the width, and your height should be dependent on the height. That's like a very easy place to get errors. So yeah. Can we continue, or do we have any more questions currently? Okay. So yeah, this is an important spot. I missed the icon, so let's check if the icon is correct. It's an image. So that by itself is an error because it was like in the other points, as I remember, logo and text grouped. Yeah, so this is incorrect. You should have used an image of the actual logo, and the yellow should have been text, and preferably H1 because there's like a scoring criteria to be used. But to be honest, I wouldn't give an extra -1 for the semantic issue because, well, this is not semantically incorrect. I mean, a logo can be just an image, but in this case, it should have been an image and an H1. But in this case, I would not give a -1, but rather we will give minus other points when we actually start checking the other criteria. But for now, this is good. So yeah. Okay, this is the nav element. That's good. ULs, LIs. Okay, that's good. So let's continue. We checked both of these. What's this? Not sure what this is. Hidden. Oh, that's looks like a mobile thing. Let me see. Oh yeah, I need to change it again. Rather, I'll just like use this if you don't mind. Yeah, but you won't be able to see the console. Okay. Is it working? No, it's not. Let's refresh it. Oh, you also need to set max device width, not max width. Yeah, sorry. You can also set it. Oops. Yeah, you can do this. You can do max width and max device width. Should work or not. Okay, it's not working. So for testing purposes, you can just leave it as like this. Okay. So let's zoom in a bit more, I guess. Okay, so where's the hidden cursor? Why is it hidden? Trying to understand what this is. The cool to the minimal. Doesn't have any JavaScript. So I guess this is just left by mistake. Just my, yeah, I think so because nothing happened. And this is hidden as well for some reason. Yeah, nothing seems to be. Oh, it's weird. Okay, so we continue on in the desktop. And now we see, okay, 2 buttons, that's semantically correct. So let's just move on. Section, okay, that's semantically correct. Well, these are just, yeah, H2, I wouldn't, Well, okay, yeah, fair enough. H2 is good here. I mean, this is just short text, so that's good. Thinking these are the same, yeah, these are the same. Okay, next section. Container. And what is this? H2 again, okay. Container. Video, okay, yeah, I guess it's in video. Fair enough. Okay, image and button. Okay, so that is correct. We skipped one. It's just text, paragraph. Okay, that's correct. And button. Let's move on. The date, nothing special. Paragraph. Well, this is pretty weird, but yeah, since it's a span, I guess it's no problem. It doesn't really mean anything. Okay, what's this? Hidden. Oh, okay, it's like for responsiveness. All right. Speed button. Videos again. P image. Yeah, so this is for the mobile version. So I'm just assuming that everything's all right. We'll check the mobile version later. Okay, form, input, empty input. All right, semantically correct, I guess. Paragraph. Well, let me see the design for the mobile. What is it? Oh, it's just 2 blocks. Okay. Let's continue. Okay, so this section is good. Now we have the footer, which is again incorrect because this whole block is not a footer. This is another section. So we can mark 1 more for semantic. So now it's 3 points for semantic issues. Okay. This should have been a section. This is not H1. This should be H2. So again, semantic. Because he used H2 here, he used H2 here. So why did he use H1 here? So yeah, I'm not sure about that. Okay, this is an image. All right. ULs, correct, allies, and the footer. Okay, so this is the same. This is empty. All right, so we have checked the semantics. What else do we need to check? Oh, what's it called? Oh, a lot of code is rewritten to be used by mobile or desktop. I didn't see anything fishy. I only saw a few sections that were completely different from the desktop version, which are not visible on the screen. So I'm just assuming that they're mobile versions. I'm having some issues like checking the actual mobile version here because I thought that that screen. Oh. Yeah, I thought this will work, but it doesn't seem like it's actually doing it. So I'll later have to try to resize my window again. So yeah, but I didn't see a lot of reusage. We can just check by the amount of code, I guess. Like by the amount of code inside this media query. Like what I mean by that is that more code is not inside the media query, and that's a good indication that most of the things were reused for both mobile and desktop, but there were some sections which cannot be like reused because they're completely different. So it's okay to rewrite some parts of the code for mobile because it's completely different, but most of the things should be done responsibly. So in this case, I would not spend too much time digging into it. I mean, if it doesn't look like a lot of code is reused, then it most likely isn't. So we're done with the global penalties. For now, we are in -4 for semantic. And let's see if I missed anything else. Oh, we also have general inconsistencies. So for this to work, we need to find more than 10 inconsistencies. And if we find more than 10 inconsistencies, then that means we do -20 points. So let's try and see if we have a lot of inconsistencies. Let me open up the design. Okay, so first of all, this logo is definitely, let me see what size it needs to be. If it's more than 20 pixels, then it's wrong. Height 29. It should be close. 29, but we still have this small gap. So yeah, I would say this is all right. I mean, it should be a bit lower, but I wouldn't say that this is an inconsistency. Okay, about these menu icons. Yeah, they look pretty good to me, except for the font. I think the font is incorrect. Let me see. Where's the font? Actually, let's just use this font family Roboto. And what's this? Yeah, it's Segoe. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but this should be Segoe. So yeah, that's one inconsistency. Let's mark it down. Oh, and by the way, if I remember correctly, it also has.
For font, I guess we have other issue.
Yeah. I remember. I was just about to say that all fonts are correct plus free. So yeah, to be honest, I think it would be fair just to do the -3 points and ignore this as an inconsistency. So okay, let's do that. So -3 points for the fonts because at least one font is incorrect. We just write -3 and just ignore it as an inconsistency for the whole project. All right. So we can ignore fonts. Let me open up the design. Oh, and by the way, but while checking the what's it called? The inconsistencies, make sure to set the width as the design is. The design for desktop version is 1300, so be sure to set it up. The background looks good. The spacing doesn't look good, to be honest. So I think this will be more than 20 pixels. Let me check. Yeah, it should have about 50, and this doesn't look 50. This looks like 2 or something. Yeah, it's none actually. So either the size, the font is too big. I would guess. Let me see what the font is. 63, and this looks like 4 rem. Okay, he's using rems. Let's see what happens if we change it to 63. Still the same. And that means this is too big. Let's see what this is. So it's about 550, 327. So yeah, it's too big. So the video player, either make it that it's about the same size. Well, I mean, this person made it responsive, I guess, but you should make sure that on this 1300 breakpoint, it's at least similar to the design. In this case, it's a lot bigger. That's why we don't have the space anymore. So I would mark this as an inconsistency as well. So we have one inconsistency, and we can move on. Regarding these arrows, yeah, their height is a bit too small, but not not that bad. The positioning looks about right, so yeah, that's good enough. Regarding these controls, that's another point we can check, so I'm not going to mark it as an inconsistency because he's going to get penalized in later points. Okay, so I think we're about done here. Well, these borders, they're like black, but they should have been more transparent. I'm not even sure if I should mark it as an inconsistency because it's really small. So I guess I'll just skip it. Okay, looking at this, again, the fonts are incorrect, but we already penalized for that. And other than that, it looks pretty good. It looks almost the same. So yeah, it's good. Again, fonts are incorrect. The coloring is incorrect. So, okay, this is a inconsistency, I would say. Because come on, fonts are pretty easy to do. Sizing incorrect again, fonts, okay. Buttons. Everything else looks pretty much the same. Yeah, everything else is pretty good, except for the text font color. Okay, moving down. Yeah, looks pretty good, but as I saw before, this is a picture, which will be penalized later because it shouldn't be a picture. It should be two separate elements, but whatever, it got replicated, so. And these bullet points look pretty much the same. And the footer is really bigger. Let's see if it's more than. But actually, since we reached the end, oh yeah, there's also a mobile version. Never mind. Okay, so this is 101, and the design is a lot smaller. Yeah, 66. So this is an inconsistency again because like immediately you can see that it's a lot bigger than it should have been. So let's mark it. We have 3 inconsistencies now. Everything else looks pretty good. I might have missed something, but yeah. Let's try and do the not the responsive. Wait, let me see what size the. Oh, it's 640. Is it 640? So something like that. Let's refresh it. Okay, I'll turn off this. I hope you can see it. It should be pretty clear. Let me zoom in. Okay, so the icon in the mobile version looks pretty much the same. These look good as well, I'd say. This is just a picture. We're not going to penalize it for now. This looks pretty much the same as well. We already penalized for the color, so I'm not going to do it the second time. Oh, this plus icon should have been at the bottom, so this is a inconsistency again. The distance is pretty huge, so. Now the video player is again an image, so nothing to be said here. Okay. Regarding these chat curves, I'm not sure I would call them. There's a separate evaluation criteria, so I'm not gonna mark it as an inconsistency. The text looks pretty good except for the colors. Other than that, yeah, there's this border here which the person forgot to remove. So I would mark this font color because the design has a slightly grayer color. It's almost undistinguishable, but I wouldn't give an inconsistency for that. But since the person forgot to remove the outline from the input, I will mark it as an inconsistency. So we have 5 now. Okay, so now this part looks pretty much good. And the footer, again, we have penalized for it, so we don't do it the second time. So we have 5 inconsistencies, so no minus points in this case. Let's continue on. Okay, so we're back to the desktop version. Let's see what's left. General inconsistency. Oh, I forgot that wrong backgrounds are also considered inconsistencies. So this is a wrong background. This is good. This is good. Oh, okay. So we still have 6. So it's not enough to penalize, and we just forget about it. Okay, so we have went through the global penalties. I guess it's time to actually do the scoring now. So we're going to start with the desktop version. And yeah, let's start with the header. All elements are clickable. Let's turn this off for now. Okay, so this is good, good, and this is good. So header elements are all clickable. We can mark +2. Nav elements are interactive. Yeah, they're interactive. Pretty good. +2. Logo and text group has one parent element that groups them together, not two separate elements. As we discussed before, this is an image, so it's incorrect. It should have been this should have been H1, and this should have been an image, and they should have been grouped together into a div or anything else. So we're gonna give -1. H1 tag used correctly, that's again -1. And the nav elements are replicated pixel perfectly. Now, this might appear as pixel perfect, but as I can see, it's an image, so it's not correct. Let me just check if it's actually true. Box shadow. Oh no, it's actually a box shadow. Okay, let's check if it's pixel perfect. So let's see what colors are here and where they're. Yeah, it doesn't look pixel perfect. Sorry, man. The colors are different. So it would have been good, but you have not really replicated the colors, so we can't give +10 points for that, unfortunately. Okay, and the header is done. So let's move on to the main section. Video element placed with the image placeholder. Well, yeah, I guess this is correct, but to be honest, I would penalize a few points because let me see. Slider button present, slider button placed, text to style. Oh wow, it didn't include, because I thought that there was a point where all of these controls are interactive, which they are not here. So since that most people are done with the checking, let's just say that you shouldn't penalize in this case. But after the session, I will add, not after the session, but after the cross-check ends, I will add points for these controls so that people don't do this. Just place a video element and insert a photo because it's pretty easy to do. This is not correct, but there are no evaluation criteria for it, and that's my fault. So I'll just update it after the cross-check. So okay, let's just skip it. Slider button. So most of the people might not know what the slider is. So the slider is these buttons. It's not the video control. It's actually these buttons on the side. Slider button present, interactive. So that's +2 points because yeah, that's correct. Oh, and by the way, +5 points for the video because it's present as well. Slider button placed using the position property. So let's see if it is. Position absolute top. Yeah, that's not the way you should have done it, but all right. Works for me, I guess. Yeah, still use position, so we give him +2 for that. Text is styled according to design. So these are incorrect fonts, I think, or was it not? Yeah, maybe it's not this one. Let's check. Font family robot. Let's see what this is. Yeah, I think it's the same, or maybe not. Let's check. Yeah, so the font in the actual design is ASAP, so the font is incorrect. So we can easily just penalize again. Where is it? 2 points because the font is incorrect. So yeah, no points for you. And that is it with the main section. Let's move on to the responsive columns. The column width is equal, pretty easy to check. Just highlight it. Currently it's 591, 91. Okay, so they're equal plus 3 points. They were responsive, if I remember. They are moving with the width, so yeah, that's responsive. That's plus 3 points. Using SVG icons. Those are not SVGs, those are PNGs, so yeah, that's incorrect. Shadow used, let me check. Oh, it's this shadow. Yeah, shadow used, okay. It's good, plus 3. Plus 3. Okay, next up is this section. 3 responsive columns. Let's see if they're responsive. Well, not really, because the video is not responsive. So yeah, I wouldn't say that this is responsive. So no points for that part. Oh wait. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It was for another section.
Yeah. Sorry, I just realized. Thanks. Okay, so ignore what I said. Video element placed with image placeholder. Yeah, it's there. Again, this is my problem that I haven't specified that you should actually program the controls as well. But we still give him 5 points because that's the evaluation criteria. All pluses should be interactive. Yeah, they're doing something, so they're interactive. So this kind of works as well. Oh, that's the elements. Okay, now I understand. Okay. Replicate the slider. Yeah, it's pretty much good. Every other block positioned correctly. Yeah, looks pretty much good. So we give him 2 points for the interactive buttons. We give him 3 points for the slider. And every other block plus 3 points. Okay. Let's move on down. Bullet points styled. Yeah, if I remember correctly, these are good. Yeah, these are good. So plus 2. And now the 100% free banner present and in place. Since this is an image, I'm not going to count this as correct because these computers should have been an image and this 100% free should have been a HTML element. And it's pretty like tricky to position correctly. So yeah, I'm not gonna accept the solution. So no plus 3. Okay, so footer shadow used plus 3. Logo and text grouped. Again, I'm guessing, yeah, this is just an image, so we can and we should penalize again. So no points for him. Okay, so we're done with that, and we have marked everything. Let's move on to the mobile version. All right.
Can I ask?
Yeah, sure.
For desktop version, do we have to evaluate that there are no words wrap?
Where exactly?
When we have text here, yes, and here as well in the example we have text wrapping.
Yeah. I would say this is an inconsistency. So we have 7 inconsistencies, which are still like not enough to penalize. So yeah, it doesn't really make a big difference. Well, yeah, Pixel Perfect was out of scope, so you shouldn't really try to find every single small mistake. Like if you if you're following me, you can see I'm pretty casual about all of this. I'll just like pretty, I'm not really focused on all of these details. I'm just looking, if I see about the same thing as I see in the design, it's good enough. I mean, it was not supposed to be really precisely according to design. So yeah, I hope I answered your question also. Okay, let's move on to the mobile design. So again, the header, all elements are clickable. Yep, we give 2 points. Just 2. Okay, so nav elements interactive. Yeah, pretty much, except for this one. I would say it's not interactive. But again, you could argue that this cursor pointer is interactive. And yeah, I remember in the past saying that it's enough to do cursor pointer for an element to be interactive. So I guess it's +2 again. Logo and text grouped, again, the same issue, so no points. But actually, let's check it. Maybe decided to. Yeah, it's still an image. Okay, so no points. H1 tag, again, no points. Video element placed with the image placeholder. Yeah, that's good enough. +5. Okay, free responsive columns. Yeah, they seem responsive, which is good. +3. Pretty hard to track the other screen. Column width is equal. Well, it looks pretty much equal. 207, 207. Yeah, they're equal. It's +2 points. SVG icons, yeah, I think they're just, yeah, they're PNGs, so no points here. Layered effect used on borders, yeah, I don't see that effect, so no points. Let's move on. Video element placed with image placeholder, yeah, 5 points. All plus is interactive, yeah, they're interactive, so +2. Let's move on. Using SVG icons, let's see if this SVG. No, it's still PNG, so no points here. Chat bubbles present and aligned. Yeah, they're present and aligned, so +3. Chat bubbles perfectly replicated. Yeah, this is not perfectly replicated. I think I mentioned before that you don't have to like perfectly replicate the exact curving amount, but I did say that you should try curving at least a bit. And since this is just a simple triangle, it's not like hard to do. I wouldn't give the points. If the person would add at least a little bit of curve here, then I would say that, yeah, okay, it's good enough. But now it's not. So no 5 points. Input present, so yeah, +2. Input perfectly replicated, I can't give him that because the border is here, so it's not perfect. Form element used, yeah, if I remember that he used form here. Clicking enter on the input submits the form. Yeah, it does, and it actually replaces the chat bubble. That's pretty cool. So +2. And okay, moving on. 100% yeah, free banner. Yeah, it's incorrect because this is an image again, so no points. Shadow used. Shadow used. That's free. Logo and text. Yeah, again, same issue, so no points. All sections. Okay, so we have covered everything. Now the general ones. All sections have backgrounds. Yeah, I did see that everything did have a background, so +3. All sections have correct backgrounds. Yeah, at least in one place it wasn't correct in this one, so no +2. All fonts are correct, +3. No, there are a lot of incorrect fonts. And basically that is it. So we can. I'm not going to sum the points because yeah, it's just going to take a while. So we're done with this one. Does anyone have any questions regarding this? Or we can move on to the other examples. Oh wow, there's a lot of people here. That's cool. I see a lot of raised hands. Just go ahead and unmute yourself because I don't see the Teams screen because I have other things open. So just go ahead and ask if you have any questions. Okay, I'm guessing there's no questions, so we can just close this one, move on to the next one. This is another example, and I think we can just skim through because we have covered a lot of things in the previous example. It took like 1 hour. Yeah, so let's just quickly try to check this one. Okay, not using flex or grid at least once. Yeah, this is flex. We see flex. Okay. Semantic standards. Yeah, okay. Header, again, this is incorrect. So -1 because this should be like this, only this part should be header, and I hope you understand that. So yeah. Section. Div, nav, okay, nav is cool. These could have been allies, I guess, but yeah, div is all right as well. Okay. It's actually not entirely correct to use an A tag only on the text. You should have used an A tag on the div right here. If you decided to go with the A approach, then use an A tag here. Because currently it will only work if I click on the text itself, so it's not really good. But yeah, it's I guess it's still good. Like, it's not incorrect. You don't need to be really strict about this. I mean, you're all learning, so the goal is not to penalize. The goal is to just find problems. Okay, this looks like it's not using the position property. Yeah, it's not using the position property, so we can penalize it when we check the specific scores. Yeah, there's a section called not using the position property. So yeah, this one is not correct. The H1 here, yeah, I guess it's good. It's just pretty weird that people put the cool in the span and the other text like just as basic text. You shouldn't do that. You should put the minimal in span as well. Like, this is not a semantic error, but it's just standard. Figure, okay, that's good enough. Image, yeah, okay. Now this is semantically incorrect because this should be a button, not a div. So this is definitely an issue. So yeah, keep that in mind. Okay, this is good. Header. Okay, so this is the main. All right. Section. Oh, okay, this is the background image. Cool. This is a grid. Some grid items. Yeah, we're not gonna go deep in that. Well, actually, I think we can just skip the semantic check because I think you understand how to do it now, hopefully, because, well, just to save time. Let's just check the responsiveness again. Let's start from the minimum 360. We can already see that it has white spaces here. That's instantly -20. And that is, yeah, besides a lot of codes being reused, that is the worst case. So we no longer need to check anything else because -20 is the worst, and you also always need to pick the worst penalty. What I mean by that is, if it would break, like, for example, the first point is -5 points. The layout breaks only on large screens or very small screens, so it's -5 points. If it would be breaking between those boundaries, you would give -5 points. But if you found that somewhere the layout like has white spaces, then you would instantly just forget about the -5 points and just give the -20, and that's it. You can just skip the checking of responsiveness because this is like, yeah, that. Okay. I hope that's like clear, because Okay, general inconsistencies, we're not gonna go through that. I think you know how to check them. So yeah, it's gonna take a while to do that. Let's see if there's any edge cases here that we would like to discuss. This looks actually pretty good, so I don't think there's, oh yeah, this is how you're supposed to do it. Like, yeah, there's the screens, it's an image, and that's correct. And there's the section list, and the discount is like, it's not a discount, but whatever. It's a separate element that's used using position property. I'm not sure about z index +1. That doesn't really make sense. Just for reference, you don't need +1. Yeah, that's the correct way to do it. Using position absolute, it's pretty simple to do. I'm not sure about these specific top and left values. Yeah, it should break here. Yeah, it's not really responsive, but whatever. Let's see if there's any other issues I can immediately see. Not really, except for these arrows. This is problematic. Now, regarding this, regarding the pixel perfect for the nav, I would say that this is good enough. Let's see if it's not a picture. Okay, it uses box shadow, and that is correct. It looks like it's using the correct colors. Let's just see. Yeah, and by the way, in the design, this nav bar is actually misaligned by a few pixels. So if a person does a good alignment, like in this example, like this is aligned, and in the design it's not really aligned, this is not a problem. Both options are good. I mean, the perfectly aligned and the alignment found in the design is good. It's still pixel perfect. So yeah, if you see this situation, it's pixel perfect. Okay, someone has a question, right? Someone
Could
unmute
we do 800 byte?
Sorry?
Could we do 800 wideness?
You mean width?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is regarding the, what's it called? This is a perfect example of layout breaking, because it's not really like everything is still visible, but we can see breaks right here because this shouldn't happen, and this doesn't seem like it's been like intended, and the video element is in an awkward position as well. So yeah, and this doesn't really look good. So this is layout breaking, but since we have found at least one case where there's a white screen, we just ignore it. We don't care about it anymore because we already gave -20 points for the responsiveness, so we can just ignore this. It's no problem because this is related to responsive design. If we move it to 680, which was the design, then we might have problems because this will be also considered an inconsistency because it's way off the design. This will also be an inconsistency because in the mobile version it should span the whole width, which is pretty easy to do. This
is actually 640, not 680.
Yeah, 640.
Okay, 640, but oh, okay, cool. Sorry for that then. Yeah. So this is good then. I would also mark this as an inconsistency because it was pretty simple to fix. But yeah. Oh, this is perfectly replicated as well. Well, at least it looks like it. I'm not sure about pixel perfect, but it looks good enough to be considered plus, what's it called? +5, I think. Yeah, something like that. I don't see any other points of interest here. If anyone has any questions, like someone of you asked to use like 840 or something. So if you have any more questions regarding this one, feel free to ask, because I'm not going to cover everything because we're going to take like 3 hours. So I'm going to wait a few moments and move on to the next example.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
For the software pixel, like on the top, for example, inside your sound.
I'm really having a hard time understanding. Sorry, because there's a lot of background noise. You can just write it in the chat if you want. I'll wait a few moments. For the perfect pixel on the top, yeah. What about it? If there are some different positions inside, just a few pixels. I'm not sure what you mean. It looks pretty good to me.
Let's say in the example about us element, the first element is a bit wider than the services or contact element, and so we should give -10 for these, like say 5 pixels, because in
Oh, no. Actually, I didn't even notice this because the main point of this evaluation criteria is this border effect. Because yeah,
okay.
because it takes some time to actually replicate it, and people read about box shadow, so that's beneficial. That's why it has a lot of points, so people try to replicate it. I don't really care about these widths because it's pretty simple to fix. You can just set it to a fixed width or something. It's no problem. But this is the main point you should look at. So yeah, as I said many times before, you shouldn't like use a ruler to check if it's like 1 pixel or 2 pixels off. That's not the point of this task. It's basically the main point of this task was to introduce you to responsive design, which will to help you figure out how to make designs just on every screen, so they're adaptive and stuff. So you start using, instead of pixels, you start using percent, view width, viewport units. What else? I guess REMs are also responsive. So yeah, that was the main point. Okay, so if there are no more questions, is it a good idea to use validator markup validator service? I'm not sure what that is. Is it like a semantic validator or something? It's no problem. You can use it. I mean, validate. Okay, let me open that. Oh, markup validation service. Yeah, I'm not sure this I think this will only check if the HTML is valid, but I don't think it will check whether it's semantically correct because it can't really determine what you mean. Compatibility. Yeah, this okay. Feel free to use it. It's not forbidden. If it helps you, it helps you. Okay, let's just move on to the other one. Okay, so this is a bit more complicated. So this might have a few more issues we can discover. Okay, so first of all, the logo is incorrect. This navbar is incorrect. Basically, I wouldn't even give the 5 points for the video element because it doesn't look correct. The text, well, this is not a 0 because, well, there's something here, but yeah, it looks like it's been done only to pass this task. So that's pretty disappointing. But yeah, this is pretty bad. I'm not even sure where to start. So first of all, let's see if it has any white spaces. Yep, it does. So we can just skip the whole responsive check, give -20. Regarding semantic, yeah, again, this is the whole thing is a header. It's div nav. That's like this whole thing is not a nav. Only these three elements are. This is just a. It's just an icon. So this is incorrect. The header is incorrect. Well, at least sections are there. Divs. Ish. Main player. These images controls should be also buttons because, well, actually, if you don't make them buttons, it's not. I guess it's not incorrect, but I'm just saying that they should be buttons. I wouldn't give a semantic error for that, but I'm just saying for your own sake, because they are buttons in real life. They would be in this particular case. They don't do anything. That's why I guess they can be just divs, but yeah. Okay, section div. Well, yeah, we can give points for equal widths, or actually we can't because they're all different widths, so we can't. We can give. Okay, we can't. Let's see if we can at least give a few points here. Okay, this is incorrect. All elements are clickable. Hoping that they are. Yeah, okay, so we can give at least 2 points for this task, so it's not a 0. And I think that was the main point of the offer. So I'm not sure if there's much to discuss here, because there's a lot of errors, and yeah, it will take a while. Except for if the person who sent me this link has any specific questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll try to answer them. Because yeah, this will take a while to cover every single thing. Oh, what about the mobile version? Yeah. By the way, there's a point which says that there is no mobile version. So to check if there is a mobile version, oh, it's should find the media tag. Okay, so there is a media query. So I guess you can call this a mobile version. I mean, yeah, it's not really good, but it's still a mobile version. So you would still need to evaluate it. So yeah. Actually, yeah, you can each just go through the requirements and see if you are not sure about any of the requirements for this specific task. I'll give you like 5 minutes because this is the last example, and after this one, I guess we'll just say goodbye. So if anyone's interested, feel free to go through the points and ask if you are not sure about some of the evaluations. In the meantime, I'll try to do it myself. So regarding the header, we only get points for all elements are clickable and all elements are interactive, nothing else. Regarding main, we only give points for nothing really. Yeah, there are no points because video element placed with image placeholder, I wouldn't call this placed because this is just a random image. I wouldn't give points for that. Slider button is not present. Slider button is not present again, so we don't give points. Text is styled according to design. So well, let's see. Font. Okay, at least the font family is good, but it's not even close to the design. So yeah, no points there as well. Yeah. Going further, free responsive columns, yet they are okay. I could say they're responsive, but yeah, it's pretty complicated to decide whether they're actually responsive. Well, it's using flex, I guess. So yeah, okay, they're responsive. Let's say column width is equal. No, it's not equal, as we saw. SVG icons, no. Shadow used, no. Oh wait, desktop version. Yeah, still shadows not used. Going further, yeah, again, video element should be placed with image placeholder. No, I wouldn't give points for that because it's just a random image. If the play button was here, then yeah, I would give points, but all pluses should be interactive. I don't see any pluses. Replicate slider, there is no slider. Every other block, there are no other blocks. So yeah. Buttons styled. Yeah, they are styled, but as I can see, they're images. That is not really good. Oh, by the way, this is a semantic mistake again, because this should have been a UL and these should be LIs. Well, the person decided to use divs, which is incorrect. And images for bullets. So I guess we can give points for the styled bullets, but yeah, this is still not the way to do it. 100% free banner is not present, so shadow used, shadow used. Logo and text grouped, not really. Well, actually, it is grouped because it does have one parent element, and yeah, and there's one element here and text. So I guess, yeah, they are grouped. Even this one is grouped. Yeah, okay, that's another point. But the H1 tag is not used, so no points there. Okay, so now we move on to the mobile version. Oh yeah, and this is actually a good example of how to check these cases when you are not even sure if this is the mobile design or not. So you just put 640 and just evaluate from there. So yeah, the header, all elements clickable, they are clickable. Logo and text group, yeah, it's the same logo. Video element placed, yeah, there is no play sign, so I wouldn't consider this as 5 points. Responsive columns, yeah, we already discussed it. They're responsive, I guess. Column width is equal, no, it's not. SVG icons, no. Layered effect, no. Image placed, no, because there's no plus sign. No plus buttons as well. SVG icons, is this SVG? Nope, it's PNG. Input not present. Form element, oh yeah, not present. Okay, 100% no, not there. Backgrounds, all sections have backgrounds. No, because for example, this section doesn't have backgrounds, so no points there. All sections have correct backgrounds. No, again, because this is incorrect. All fonts are correct. No, because we see this Times New Roman here, which is definitely not in the design. I think, at least. Let me check. Yeah, it's not Times New Roman, so that's incorrect, and yeah, we can just skip it. And that is it. So yeah, this example is just a mess. But yeah, that you might encounter these. So now I'm gonna open up the Teams and I can see the comments. Let me just quickly read through them. How shall I evaluate if instead of SVG there are SVG elements with paths and points? Yeah, it's good enough. It's still considered SVG. For the 100% free block, if it is a picture, not the CSS, but with right background and located perfect and text is put inside the picture, still no points because, yeah, of course it's perfect because it's just a picture. It's not responsive. So the correct way to do it is actually, oh, this is actually better because it's extracted as even 3 different images. So this is even a better example. So the way to do it is you extract one image as all of these devices or 3 separate images as this person did. You wrap them inside a div, like this person did as well. And then you use another div to actually position the 100% free banner, preferably using position property because it's the easiest to do. But there are, of course, other ways to do it. So that's how you're supposed to do it. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Because, yeah, after this one, we'll wrap it up. Yeah, no problem. So I don't see any more questions. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you around. See you.
Bye.
Thanks.